Hi there, my name is Randy Fay. I'm one of the maintainers of the DDEV open source local development environment, and I want to give you a quick demonstration of what it takes to install DDEV from scratch on macOS. This is a brand new MacBook Neo, the latest thing. It's only got 8 gigs of memory, as those come with. And we're going to see if we can install it using the standard techniques. So let's go ahead and get started. This machine is almost completely clean. I did install the Chrome browser on it because I just wasn't familiar enough with Safari to do the normal things with comfort. So I did install Chrome on it, and I installed the video screencast recorder. And that's it. So let's give it a shot. So here we go, and let's just take a look at what DDEV is. First of all, it's a Docker-based local development environment, so all of the heavy lifting takes place inside Docker containers. This is aimed at web developers, especially PHP, but Node, HTML, and even other things people are using it for. You run the website on your own local computer with almost no configuration of the computer. We'll show that now. And it works the same on all operating systems. This just happens to be a demonstration on macOS, but it works the same on Windows WSL. It works the same on Linux, and it does everything exactly the same. So your team can use different machines. Developers can run multiple websites at the same time, and they can even talk to each other. But because Docker does all the heavy lifting, you don't even need PHP or Composer on your host computer. In fact, we recommend that you don't install them to avoid confusion. So here's what we're going to do. This is the step-by-step here. We're going to install Homebrew because we don't even have it yet. Most Mac computers already have Homebrew on them, but we're going to install Homebrew. Then we're going to install a Docker provider. In this case, we're going to use OrbStack, which is probably the simplest and perhaps the most reliable, but all of them work fine, and they're all documented, and they're great. Then we're going to install DDEV using Homebrew. Then we'll create a junk project. Later on, we'll create a Drupal 11 project. And then we'll show some various DDEV commands. So that's what we're going to do. Let's start out from the beginning. I guess the beginning is we ought to install Homebrew. So let's do that. So I am going to go here and go to brew.sh. And you don't actually have to know anything. You copy this little thing here on brew.sh, and then in your terminal, you run that command. And it's going to ask for my sudo password. And then we're going to install those things. Yes, this is the first time this computer's been used, so it takes a moment to download the standard command line tools for Xcode. So I may shorten this with editing, but it does download those, and it does that process for you. At one time, you always got prompted with a magic thing that you had to do this yourself, but now it does it for you. Okay, there it got the command line tools installed, and now it's doing the basics of installing Homebrew itself, which has a dependency on those. So now we'll be able to use Brew. There is one thing we have to do, and don't skip this step. It's right here. You can just copy it and paste it. I'm just going to copy and paste that, and then we should be set. Brew should be in our path, and it is. So now we have Homebrew, and we can do all the things that you would normally do with Homebrew. So I will do what we said we were going to do was install a Docker provider. So I'm going to install OrbStack, brew install OrbStack, which is our Docker provider. We could be using Colima, we could be using Docker Desktop. OrbStack is a commercial product which has a free tier for private use and a modest cost for professional use. Colima and Lima and Rancher Desktop are all completely open source and completely free to use, and many DDEV users use them very, very happily. But I think it's just easiest to demonstrate OrbStack here, so that's what I did. It'll be ready for us in just a moment. So he wants us to open the OrbStack app to get started. So I'm going to say OrbStack, and that's not what I wanted to do at all. I'm going to use the applications and OrbStack to open it. And it wants Rosetta, but we don't need Rosetta or use Rosetta. It's very unusual with DDEV to be using Intel-based features. So I'm going to say not now. We don't need Rosetta at this point. It wants the helper, which is a good thing. That lets it run on port 80. You have to type the right password, though. So we only want Docker in this case. OrbStack can do more than that, but there it is. OrbStack is installed. So let's just see how we're doing here. Docker PS. It works. We have Docker working. We could do Docker run hello world to demonstrate that we're working correctly, and it does in fact work for us. So now we have that installed. So our next step is to install DDEV, and we're going to install it with brew install DDEV. That gets DDEV's package and installs it for you. It's already in the path. It'll get the latest one. To upgrade it, you can do the things that you need with that. I am going to run a make cert -install, which gives us trusted HTTPS. And there we are. Now we have DDEV in our path, and our next step is to create a junk project. So I'm just going to create a trivial project because we don't want to get lost in Composer and that sort of thing to start with. I usually put my projects in the workspace directory. And so I'm going to go into workspace directory, and I'm going to make a directory called junk, and DDEV config -- project type equals PHP. PHP is kind of a generic PHP type project, and I think that's all I'll do right there. And I think I'm going to make an index.php. That does nothing useful. Hope that works in my PHP version. And now I'm going to do a DDEV start. This is just a request to send instrumentation telemetry to DDEV, which helps us. You can say yes or no. And now it's going to pull the images that we need. This is a one-time process, pulling these images, one time per release. We do update these on additional releases, but you don't have to do this every time you do a DDEV start. But it's getting those for us now. So now it's pulled all of them, and now it's going to do a little bit of work, a little bit of setup work, most of which doesn't get repeated on different DDEV start invocations. Now, if I do a DDEV list, I'll see that I have a junk project, and I see that the URL is here on junk.ddev.site. And if I got my PHP syntax correct, then I can do a DDEV launch, and it will open a browser for me that says hi there, and it does. So that's good. That's what we wanted to show. That project is already running. It has a database. It has everything it needs. We didn't use any of that with our junk project, but we're going to try to do a little more now. So let's go ahead and create a Drupal 11 project, a composer build with that. So we will do the same basic thing here. I'm going to make a project called D11. And I'm going to say DDEV config -- project type equals Drupal 11 -- doc root equals web. And that just tells DDEV how to use it correctly, how to use the correct correct configuration for the web server and the database and a few other things. So now I'll say DDEV composer create project, Drupal recommended project, and it will pull together all the things that we need for that. The DDEV Composer Create project actually did a DDEV start for us. In our usual tutorial, we show a separate DDEV start, but DDEV Composer Create project actually does the start for us. And this is installing all the things. Every Drupal project needs drush, so we'll do a DDEV Composer require drush. And I can do a DDEV drush si-y demo umami. This is the quick version of an install. Let's do the install using the web install. So we'll do a DDEV launch here. And here we have the standard web install. And I will use the umami, which I always love. And it's doing the install here. It went through the whole install process that fast. And now it'll ask us to configure it. And I will say admin at example.com, admin, and we don't need any update checking on this one. And here's our project all set up, working. It's got all the things that you would want in it. We can go and look at the reports. We can look at the status report, and you see that it has warnings that we're using an experimental profile. It automatically used the current default PHP version. It automatically used the current default MariaDB version, But DDEV supports Postgres, it supports MySQL, it supports all of the current released long-term versions of all of those databases. So there we are. We installed everything from scratch like that. So let's see what else we have to do in our list here. We got our. I guess I should show you some of the tools that we can use. So if I type DDEV help, it will show me all of the commands that I can use, including delete, config, composer, import DB, export DB, share. I can do a DDEV share. I can do all of those things. And I can also just type DDEV and it'll give me a text UI, and I can hit return there and it'll show me all of the details about that, or I can go see the details about my junk one. So I'm just going to escape out of here with a Q, and I can do DDEV describe. DDEV describe shows me all of the details about my Docker platform, what my configuration here is as far as PHP, the server is Nginx, the doc root is web, all of the things that you would want to know there, and the other all of the project URLs you can use, because even though HTTPS is what you'll normally use, DDEV also supports regular HTTP in all of those cases. So let's see, DDEV list, DDEV describe, DDEV export DB, DDEV import DB. I always have a .tarballs directory. So I can export there, and then I can import from that. And so I can grab a tarball from anywhere and get those things, and we can import files as well. What did I leave out there? DDEV power off is a very nice thing that will turn off everything. It doesn't throw away any data or anything that you didn't want to throw away. It doesn't throw away anything. It just stops the containers and stops any use of anything that's going on there. So there it's going to turn off both of those projects, and then it's going to turn off the router and anything else that's running. So there we have it stopped. Everything, if I do a docker ps-a, everything is gone except for the hello world that I did earlier that's not related to DDEV. So there's our entire setup. I do want to show, well, I should show you that all the resources are here. If you want to stop here, that's all you needed to know, and you can get DDEV going just like that. All the details and all the many powerful things that you can do are there. But I did want to show you quickly how to use Xdebug, which is fundamental to every developer's work, how to use Xdebug with one of these. So I'm just going to do that right quick. So let's just go and download PhpStorm. Oh no. How do I do this? I hate it. Where is their motorcycle? Oh, they let me in. I've been stopped there before. So I'm just going to download the Apple Silicon version of PhpStorm. There's very, very few people left using the Intel version anymore. Almost everybody is moved on to Apple Silicon, and that's what this machine is. So I'm just going to download that and install PhpStorm. It's exactly the same with VS Code. So let's see what happens here. We'll bring PhpStorm in here. Here's PhpStorm. I'm going to open it up, and I am going to. You don't have to have the DDEV extension, but you will like it if you get it. So I'm going to get it, and I'm going to open our project here. That's not what I wanted to do. I want to open workspace D11. I'm going to trust the project, and I'm not going to get the free AI, and I'm going to install the extension for DDEV. So let's get that. They're called plugins here. So let's call it DDEV here, and this is the DDEV integration maintained these days by Akiba AT expertly. Takes care of it wonderfully. And I think if we do that, we won't have to do anything else at all. I imagine that we have to restart PhpStorm for this. Okay, let's see what happens here. Let's let it analyze the project here and see if it's ready for us. And what we're going to be doing is just putting a breakpoint here in index.php, and we'll just stop as the project starts. We'll give it a moment. And the way this works is we just do a listen with the we start listening for PhpDebug connections, because the DDEV the PHP process inside the DDEV container is going to be trying to contact the IDE. That's how Xdebug works. So I'm going to say listen there, and let's go over here and do a DDEV Xdebug on. I remember I had stopped all the projects. So DDEV Xdebug on is going to restart that. So DDEV Xdebug status, it is on, and now I should be able to go back over here to my project right here and just hit anything, and it ought to connect us up. And in fact it did. Here we are, we already have a breakpoint, and we're already able to examine all of the environment variables at this time, all the regular variables, and I can step over. So I'll do a step over. I'll try to do a step over. Do I? F8 wanted to launch music. That is not what I was interested in. Thank you very much. So I think function F8 will get it for me on this machine. There we go. And I can step into this request, for example, with an F7, and I can step through this step by step. So that's what it takes right there. I'm going to stop that and demonstrate the same thing with VS Code. So I'm going to quit PhpStorm, and let's just go download VS Code. And here again, We want the ARM64 version, not Windows. We want the ARM64 or Apple Silicon version for VS Code. We will install it. And I think that we can now install the DDEV extension and everything will be ready to go. Let's see what happens. I am going to, I don't want to do this right now. Thank you very much. No, I don't want to do any of this. Thank you. So I am going to do an open here on the same project. And now you see we have all of that, and I do trust the authors. And I need to install the required extensions. So we're going to get the extensions here. I'm going to get the DDEV extension, and I think that it's called DDEV Manager. This other one is obsolete, hasn't been active for years. The DDEV Manager is the one that we want here. So I'm going to install that, and I don't know whether that gets us the PHP debug or not. Let's install the PHP debug. We want the one that's from Xdebug. That's the highly maintained, carefully maintained one, and we'll get that. And now we ought to be able to go here, back to the files, go to web, go to index.php, set ourselves a breakpoint right there. And the way that you start debugging here, if you have the extension installed, is you say, you click the extension here and then say listen for Xdebug. Listen for Xdebug is what we want. And when it's working, it lights up down here and shows that we're listening. So now let's see if that works. Remember, we had left DDEV Xdebug status was on. So we would normally do, at this point, do a DDEV Xdebug on, but it was already on. So there we are with that. And now I am going to go back to our project and just hit return on it again. And lo and behold, now we have VS Code working just like that. So let's see if I can use the correct, I'm gonna just use the step over right up here. Step over, step over. We can see all the variables that we want to see here, and we can step in. So I'll step in using this here, step over, and you see I can see the local variables, I can see the super globals, I can see all of the things. So that's all it took to get VS Code working from scratch. So if we go back to what we were trying to accomplish here, we did more than what we were planning to accomplish. We installed Homebrew, got ourselves a Docker provider. We used OrbStack. We installed DDEV using Brew. We installed a junk project and a Drupal 11 project. We demonstrated a number of the miscellaneous commands, and then we installed both PhpStorm and VS Code to make it all work. We did all of that with all of the side movements in about 32 minutes, and you could do it in 10 minutes if you already had Homebrew installed and you were only trying to just do DDEV. So that is the scoop, and thank you for joining. Here's the resources again, and we always love to hear from you in the DDEV Discord. We always love to hear from you in the Drupal Slack is also quite active, the DDEV channel, and all the other places. We invite you to join us if you have any trouble or need any help, or you want to improve something. We encourage you to join us. Thank you so much.